Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at basically how much or how quickly can you farm residual memories, how many do you need, and basically what gearing up a ult or multiple ults entails. So you should have all the information you need by the end of this video to know just how long you should play the event, how quickly it will take to gear up other ults, and of course how much residual memories you need to farm. Now firstly, let's talk about the speed of farming residual memories, how you obtain the other rewards, and basically, the brief summary of how to obtain everything. So in terms of residual memories, you can get around about 10,000 an hour. Usually what happens is you get through around about 2 cycles of the memories event, depending on your server population and your activity time at which you log in. But generally speaking, I found that I got through around 2 rotations and did a little bit more extra events afterwards. And during this time, I would farm 10,000 per hour. This was including the 3,000 quest. So you're looking at around about 7,000 to 8,000 natural occurring residual memories, around 10,000 if you include doing the daily quest for that segment. I also found that Onyxia and Dasquana Marsh was slower than the other areas. I don't know if this is just because of the boss design or the area or maybe the times that I was playing, but I find that in general, Dasquana Marsh definitely feels less productive than the other ones. Now, another important thing to understand is that if you are running this event on a character below level 70, you are also going to not receive flight stones and crests from completing the objectives and the boss. If you are looking to farm crests and flight stones, which you will need to upgrade your gear, then you are going to need to play on a max level character to obtain these. Otherwise, you will only obtain residual memories. Your rate of residual memories gain does not change depending on your level. So if you're just looking at residual memories, you don't need to panic about how quickly you do events, etc. But you are going to need to make sure that if you want crests to upgrade your gear and flight stones, you are max level. Now another thing as well, obviously, when you are doing these events, you have a chance to obtain gear. Generally speaking, during these events, I found that in the 2 cycles of events that I did, I got around 4 to 5 pieces of gear. Remember that you're also guaranteed a piece of gear for clearing the first boss of the day on that character for that character. So if you're looking really to maximize your gear gain, as in your gear for characters, I highly suggest you switch to a different character every hour. The quest is warband wide, but the gear is tied to characters. So go and complete it rather on a separate character to get that guaranteed gear drop, more so than anything else. It's definitely very important. And besides that, the crests that you gain are very important for farming gear, so these are also going to be quite crucial. But now let's go into talking about the actual rewards. So now let's talk about the rewards, because obviously we now know what we can kind of earn. We have a very, very good idea. Let's talk about the rewards. So firstly, let's talk about the mounts and the pets. So the mounts, you have 2 mounts. We're looking at 40k, 1 for each faction, 20k on each. The pets, we have 3 of them. That's another 30k. And if you want to load up on bags, that's another 10k, give or take. All right. So in total there, we're looking at 80k, which is around 8 hours. Now let's talk gear. So not including the gear you pick up, but let's just talk if you were to buy a full set of gear. Buying a full set of gear, depending on if you have one-handed weapons or not, will cost you around about 53 to 51k. This depends on obviously whether it's a 2-hander or 2 one-handers, but generally speaking, how it works out is basically you are going to essentially pick up a full set of gear, helm and boots, 8.5k, trinkets and rings altogether, 10k, cloak will be around 2k, or is 2k I should say, your waist, your wrist, and your hands will all be 9k, your chest, legs, and shoulders will be 13.5, and then your weapon will be, like I said, 10 to 8k. So pretty straightforward, honestly speaking. Actually very, very simple. Now, the thing you're going to have here, okay, in total is 123,000 residual memories. However, remember that during the course of this, you're going to be picking up a ton of gear. So we picked up in total 5 pieces, as we mentioned. In terms of our gear, obviously some of it for our character, some of it not. But in general, you should pick up quite a bit of gear. During the course of farming your 123k, depending on how lucky you are, you're probably looking at around 24 to 28 pieces of gear. Of course, completely assorted, so it's impossible to say. But I'd say you'll probably save yourself gearing up at least another 1.5 ults during the course of farming enough residual memories to gear up your first ult. Okay, so I think what you'll probably find is by the time you finish with the mounts, by the time you finish farming, you know, all the bags that you need, the pets that you need, and by the time you've got enough residual bronze, you will have so many different gear pieces that you'll rather use the bronze to fill out the slots for 2 or 3 of your characters. Now, let's talk upgrading the gear. So, upgrading the gear is actually pretty simple. The 480 gear can go all the way to 502 with the crests you earn from the event. You should, in theory, have enough of these crests to fully upgrade your gear pretty much. So your breastplates obviously will be your most expensive along with your weapons. But generally speaking, it'll cost you 60 per piece. You get around 22 to, obviously, as I mentioned, I wasn't fully leveled the whole way, but we're looking at about 30 to 40 per 2-hour session. So in that space of time, you should get 240, and by then you should be able to pretty much finish out quite a few pieces of gear to 502. Your big hindrance actually will be your flight stones. So flight stones will be a much bigger hindrance to upgrading your gear than the actual crests will. For the 590 gear, so for the 493 gear, you will also be able to upgrade it for slightly cheaper actually to 502 for only 45 crests. However, if you want to upgrade it further, you will need to get crests from the end-game content. So I would say realistically, to fully obtain all the rewards and to gear up 2 ults without factoring in fully maxing that gear, remember it gets cheaper for all the ults once you've actually purchased those upgrades, we're probably looking at around 12 hours. 12 to 13 hours, give or take, depending on your server, depending on population, depending on the times you play, etc. The best strategy, I would say, overall, is probably to log in at the start of the hour, complete the first session, play something else, and log back in at the start of the next hour. The first session is still by far the fastest. It takes around 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the area and your server. The second session is always around 30 minutes, a lot less productive. So if you're looking for pure speed, that's what you're going to want to do. Overall, of course, just farm it as much as you want to. You don't need to gear up all of your ults. It's going to depend on each and every single account. If you are someone who's trying to gear up your Pandaria characters, this is probably going to be the best way. You also, by the end of the 3rd hour, will have your heirloom ring, so you don't need to worry too much about that. But yeah, that should sum up everything you need to know about how much to play the event. Play as much as you want, realistically speaking. In terms of other benefits, I think beyond gear and beyond, you know, the mounts and everything, I don't actually think there's too much that you need. And remember as well that you can share everything via your warband. So you can transfer from all your other characters to your main character that you'll be purchasing gear on or anything like that, or the mounts. You don't have to worry about faction either. You can switch. So this is an alliance character switching to horde, etc. So you don't need to worry about any of that. It's actually all very, very simple. And yeah, you cannot transfer the crests. So just keep that in mind. You cannot transfer crests, and you cannot transfer your flight stones. So the upgrade materials cannot be transferred. And yeah, keep that in mind. But that's pretty much it. There's nothing else really you need to know. Farm away, go enjoy your time, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.